Hello and welcome to the Truelane YouTube channel. I'm Chelsea and today I'm filming a new episode of my knitting podcast, which is an extremely casual sit down where I chat about my knitting projects, things I finished up recently, new cast-ons, yarn acquisitions, basically everything pertaining to my knitting life. Shoot, I was gonna look up and see when I last posted. Well, yeah, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, February. That makes sense. So it's been about a month since my last podcast, and boy, I've been knitting with the fire of 1,000 suns under me. I've been so motivated the last month to, well, a few different things. I have the finished objects of pieces I was working on, and another one just to simply get off my needles. I'm talking about you, Lento. So we're gonna start by chatting about my finished objects, of which I have 3. Really satisfying. Everything that was a whip in my last podcast is now a finished object in this episode. I don't think that's ever happened to me before, so that's really exciting. But this is my Lento sweater. This was a pattern from LAINE magazine. Jonna, what's her name? I'm looking for the magazine. I don't remember. But it's from LAINE magazine. It's called the Lento. I've learned the names of the people who did the knit along. Rebecca, which I think most people know from the Korea Knitting podcast, and then Amy Palco, who I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure I'll get familiar with. And I didn't really participate in the knit along, but it was a sweater that was making the rounds on Instagram and YouTube, and I was like, I kind of want to make that. So that's what I did. I used Sunday Fibre Co., which is a dyer named Elise up in Vancouver, which is not too far from where I live. And her, did I say Sunday Fibre Co.? That's her company. The color I used is called Ranunculus. I've had this yarn in stash for about a year because I started knitting last January and then went ham on buying all kinds of beautiful skeins of yarn afterwards. So maybe in March last year I got this, but I've been saving it up for a really special project. I had 2 skeins and it ended up being perfect for my Lento, kind of. So here's how it turned out. It's really soft and floaty. The Lento is knit up on 10mm, not 10mm needles, size 10 needles, 6mm, I think. And it's a fingering weight held together with a mohair. So really wide gauge, large gauge, loose gauge, and it feels very ethereal and whimsical when you put it on. So yes, I knit this with Sunday Fibre Co.'s Barefoot Merino Fingering in Ranunculus, and then the mohair that I held with it was Rowan's Kidsilk Haze, which is one of my favorite mohairs. It's super high quality, it's really soft, and it's very accessible, which is nice. It is on the pricier side of mohair. One ball is $15.95, I think, which is more than hand-dyed mohair because it's a 25-gram ball, and most hand-dyed mohair is a 50-gram skein, right? Yeah, they are. And most of them are about $29. So 2 skeins of Rowan Kidsilk is like $32, which is like kind of pricey, but it is a really nice one. Except for this batch. Like, I got the colorway cream, and it was, if you watch my last podcast, I complained about it a little bit. It was so nubby and so like, it was just too fluffy. And it was a strange batch. It was kind of scratchy. The hairs were like standing on end. It's like, I don't know. It was odd. I've never had that experience before with Kidsilk Haze. But those are the 2 yarns I used to make this sweater. And this sweater, Marlene and I from Marlene Knits were FaceTiming the other day, and she basically said that this sweater was cursed because she was there for the whole epic tale of what happened with this sweater. But I complained to her about it a lot as well. I complained to a few people about this sweater. I was about to say there's nothing wrong with the pattern, but I've heard there are some errors in the pattern, especially in the printed magazine version, which is what I was working from. Maybe it's just because I'm not that experienced of a knitter, but I didn't notice any errors. So this is what I got from the knitted written pattern. First of all, I did the provisional cast on as instructed in the pattern. Wow. Was that intense. I said last podcast I would never do it again. I would do it again. It was intense, but it was really effective. It made a nice folded neckband, and it feels like the integrity of the sweater was really, can you have strong integrity there's no like seam or anything going from the neckband into the sweater. It just seems like a sensible structural element is what I think. That's what I think I believe. I knit the whole thing but didn't alternate skeins until halfway through the body. And once I started doing that, I realized the body was turning out a completely different color. And I was like, oh, it's not really what I wanted, but whatever. And so I got all the way down to the bottom ribbing right before I was starting the ribbing and tried it on. And there was just a line like right across my chest of like, it turned green. And I was like, there's just something about that I don't really like. I don't want to draw attention to that area. As soon as I looked at it, I was like, oh, I have to redo this. And I'd never ripped out a garment before. I was like, this is gonna hurt. But as soon as I decided to do it, I just like ripped it out. I was like, I'm not even gonna think about it again. I'm just gonna start over. It's gonna be fine. It was fun to knit. I really liked the yoke. I really liked the increases. So nice. Love it. I think Allison Marie was saying that like this style of increases like kind of draws attention to where you're doing the increases, so it's not like, oh, I'm trying to hide this raglan stitch. It kind of like makes it a feature, which I totally agree with that. That was a really good assessment. And so I ripped the whole thing out up to the provisional cast on, so I didn't knit the neckband again. Started doing it again, alternating skeins, and it went really well. The yoke looked really good. And then on the body, I started to notice there was like a big gap. You can't tell. Spoiler alert, I didn't rip it out again. And I was just like, I've already ripped out this sweater once. I'm not doing it again. So what I did was I put away my Lento sweater. I've already been staring at this thing for over a month and it's just not bringing me any joy. So I put the thing away and came back to it 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, tried it on again. I was like, this pooling is not that bad. Let me finish it. So I did finish the rest of the body. On the bottom, I did 4 rounds before the ribbing. I did do some decreasing, also inspired by Allison Marie knits. I thought it was a great idea. It's already a very like blousey type of sweater, so I thought bringing it in just a little bit at the waist, which you can kind of see right there, would be a really flattering element, design element. So I decreased 2 stitches on either side every other round for the last 4, 2 decrease rounds, and then I did the ribbing, which I added I think 1 inch to 1/2 inch, something like that, and did a tubular bind off. The pattern says just to bind off in pattern, but tubular is my preferred way to bind off, so that's what I did. And then when it came to the sleeves, the first one I think went fine. I only did the decreases 3 times at the beginning and then knit straight all the way down to the end and then decreased to get the right amount of cuff stitches. And then the second sleeve, I thought I did the same amount of stitches, but halfway through I realized I was at 54 stitches instead of 58 stitches. That's really not going to make a difference to me, so I kept going. So you can't, and I blocked it out the same size, so it really, you can't tell. But since I was going to stretch it out widthwise a little bit, I added 1 extra row to the stockinette and 1 extra row to the ribbing so that it wouldn't look shorter after I stretched it out widthwise. I didn't want it to shrink lengthwise. So this Lento sweater is done. And it's pretty, like it's a nice sweater. I will wear it. It will be a really great spring sweater. But this one I was just so glad to have off my needles. The fabric, I don't know if it's like the Barefoot merino base that Sunday Fibre Co. uses, but it was so slippery. Oh, no problem. The yarn was just so slippery on, and maybe I should have used like my Luca needles instead of my knit picks, which are really smooth. Maybe I should have had a little more grip or something, but this was just a challenging gauge to knit at to get good tension, and especially with how maniacally I was alternating skeins throughout, like this way and that, here and there, adding in a new stretch of yarn. It's really a corset sweater, but it's pretty, and I'm happy with the finished product, and I will wear it. The fit is really nice. I lengthened the body, I lengthened the ribbing like I said, and then the sleeves were a little bit short before blocking, but they like perfect stretch after blocking. So my Lento sweater is done. This is the one I said in my last podcast I really wanted to have done by the next episode, and we got there. I would do this again. I know that's probably surprising, but one of my favorite sweaters I've made is the sweater number 14 V-neck from My Favorite Things Knitwear because of the yarn choice that I made. I used Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which is a 100% rustic wool. I think it's American Targhee wool, and a strand of Kidsilk Haze mohair. And the fabric it created is so nice and soft and incredible that I want to do the same thing for a Lento sweater, but using Brooklyn Tweed's Loft Base, which is a fingering weight version of Shelter. Super rustic, really nice feel, and I want to hold it together with a strand of Kidsilk Haze, so we get like a similar vibe of that fabric. And like I said, the yarn's a lot more rustic, so I feel like it would have kind of better structure and be easier to maintain nice tension and everything instead of a superwash merino, which is like very smooth and slick. So I would do it again. There will be a little bit of a break between me and my next Lento. I mean, who knows, because I say this every episode. Everyone says this in all of their podcast episodes, but there are just so many projects to knit that I don't know when I'll get around to doing it. Anyway, I wore it once so far to work yesterday, and I don't know, I do think it's a nice color. It's like a nice cream, and the little pastel bits from the Ranunculus are really, really pretty. So there we go. My next finished object is a big shocker, and it is my dad's sweater, which is an Emily Curtis design. She is a podcaster here on YouTube as well. She her username is Gently Chaotic Knits, if you would like to go follow her. And this sweater and I got off on the wrong foot. I was not in the right headspace to have started this sweater, but when I put my Lento away because it was making me mad, I began knitting on this furiously, and it was so much fun. I loved this. Again, so partly because of my yarn choice, I used the Fibre Louvre, which is a really rustic Kent lamb's wool in the color Serene. It's like this really nice off-white beige gray color, and then I just fell in love with the pattern. Like, I really struggled with the yoke and the increases, not for any other reason than my brain was just not working. I wasn't in the right headspace to be doing this project. I cast it on too soon, just a little bit too soon. But once I got going, after I put away this sweater that was making me angry, the dad sweater and I had a beautiful love affair, and I'm so sad it's over because it was so fun to knit. The fit of this is so incredible that I would like watch me knit one in every color. I know I said I would only have one, but how fast it knit up and how much I loved it after like giving it a second. This and the finished product is just amazing. So what do I even say about this? It's got a beautiful folded neckband, which I just put some elastic in after I got the confidence to do so from watching Marlene Knits. She had a little tutorial at the end of her last video, and I don't know why, but just seeing somebody do it, like actually do it, I was like, oh, I can do that too. So I put in a little bit of elastic. This is my second try, because the first time I put in elastic, I made it way too tight. It wasn't cinched around my neck, but it was just like, it brought it up a little bit too much that I felt I was going like this all day long. So I did it really loosely, and hopefully it'll be a little better. But this sweater, if you can see the sleeve shape, the sleeves don't go straight out like they do on most sweaters. It like literally, it's at an angle, and it's just genius. It looks so good on this sweater. Mods that I made, I lengthened the body, the stockinette, by 1 inch, and I lengthened the ribbing by 1 inch on the body, and it's the perfect length for me. I don't know if I have a long torso, or the sleeves just have this like beautiful shaping at the end, and again, it looks so nice on. And then the sleeve ribbing I shortened by, I think, about a ½ inch. I made the sleeve ribbing the same width as the collar, so that's what happened with that. I have been wearing this, I wore this 3 days in a row, literally. And it's okay because I wear like a long sleeve underneath it so it doesn't get like dirty or anything, but I am just, it's so good. I highly recommend the pattern. It's a DK weight pattern. No, it's not. It's a worsted weight pattern, but the La Vienna May Corey worsted is a lot closer to a DK gauge. The sun is really coming in, so sorry if that's distracting. But it's a lot closer to a DK weight gauge, and I used a DK weight yarn. My gauge was pretty much right on point. I don't swatch, but I kind of measured after I got started. And my gauge was right on point. I used 4 skeins of Louvre and have like a little bit left over from the second size. So it's so wonderful. This color, like, it's just the perfect everyday sweatshirty sweater, and I'm so happy that I took it upon myself to work on this as hard as I did. There's basically just like no issue with this one, which is why I don't really need to talk about it as long as I talked about my Lento for. I will also say I was able to wet splice all of my ends together, so I had like 3 ends to weave in when the project was done as opposed to like 20 with this one. And so this was just a very extremely pleasurable project to work on. 2 finished garments. Again, I'm in shock. We're in the middle of March and I've already finished 4 sweaters this year. I'm really excited about that, but I don't think I can keep that up. But I'm gonna try my darndest to. My last finished object is going to be my Hermione everyday socks, which turned out so cute. I've worn them exactly 1 time after I blocked them, so they're a little bit stretched out, but you can still really get the full effect. The yarn I used for these is Sugar Cookies by the Kinetic Knitter on her 80/20 2-ply base. And they look so good. I'm so happy with these. They're the best socks I've ever made in terms of technical skill. Like, I really nailed it with these ones, and I'm so proud of myself. So one thing I watched a video recently regarding picking up sleeve stitches, and when you're going around the underarm, I think it's Suzanne's Knitting. She has a little trick to picking up stitches without making any holes, and I will try to link the video in the notes so that you can also watch. But I actually applied that to my sock gusset pickup, and look at this. Nary a hole to be seen. Like, that's the cleanest pickup for gussets I've ever done, and it's because I used that technique in that video, so I highly recommend. So Hermione Everyday is a free pattern available on Ravelry. I only use it for the actual stitch pattern. I just do the Vanilla Socks by Crazy Sock Lady for the heel and the toe, because that's what I know, it's what I have memorized. That's basically all I have to say about these freaking adorable socks. I love this color so much. And I would love to have a sweater quantity of this on Surrey. I think these colors on the kind of pinky white base would be so nice. I've already messaged Kara from the Kinetic Knitter about it, and I just have to find a pattern and save up my pennies for my next order. So there we go. All 3 of my whips from the last video completed. So excited. And for my whips, I have a couple of new cast-ons, which are really exciting, and I have progress on one that you guys helped me out with so much in the last episode. So in the last episode, I was really questioning my port sweater. This was a sweater I cast on January 14th when the port sweater was released. I had spent so much time thinking about what yarn I wanted to use and was just ready to go. Once I cast it on, I realized that all of my whips in January were green. I had a pair of green socks, I had a green mohair project, I had a green camisole project, and then I started this green sweater. And I had no desire to work on it whatsoever. And I was wondering if it was because the yarn I picked wasn't actually what I wanted. But after showing it in my last podcast, literally every single comment was like, keep the green, it's gorgeous. And So I immediately was like, oh yeah, it is gorgeous. And someone commented that it was like a woodland fairy color, and then that kind of got my mind going of like, it really reminds me of like Legolas from The Lord of the Rings. And so I started calling this my Mirkwood sweater, which is the realm that Legolas is from. And so that's what it is. I knew I had to keep going on it until I could visualize it on myself and see if the green would be flattering after all. And so that's what I did. I have worked up to join the body in the round and knit the neckband yesterday. And whoa, that looks crazy on camera. So here it is. This is the Port Sweater by Ozetta, and I'm using Barocco Ultra Alpaca as the main yarn in the color Hops, which is this kind of golden green. And then the mohair that I'm pairing it with is holding a needle cable hostage. There we go. Is called Oak. So these two together, which, yeah, they look really good, okay? Like, I was seriously not sure why I was questioning. Now that I've worked it up, I'm like, oh yes. But wow, so here it is. It's looking beautiful. I'm so excited about it now. So here's the kind of rib detail that makes the Port Sweater the Port Sweater. I'll be really interested to see that after it blocks out, because I really struggled with my tension at the beginning with this, and so we'll kind of see. And then also when I picked up to do the shoulder stitches, I did really badly on this side, but I didn't know until I did the other side, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. And then I was like, that's not what I did on the first side. So you can see here the stitches like go nicely into each other. And on this side, I definitely picked up like not quite in the right spot, so there's like some bumps. Don't think it will matter. It's in the back. I'm gonna block it, but it happened. So yesterday I knit up the neckband just so I could try it on and like actually see if I was gonna feel good in this. But obviously once I've knit this much, I'm like, I'm not going back. This is gonna be a sweater whether I like it or not. So I'm really thankful that you guys encouraged me to keep going on this, because I think it is going to be a really beautiful sweater. And I'm realizing that this is the first kind of solid color sweater. I'm using quotes because it's a variegated mohair, but it's a tonal. So there's like lots of different shades of the same color in it. But every other sweater I've made has really been like kind of a light neutral, similar to this, or like the mushroomy brown color. I've never really knit like a sweater that is a color that wasn't brown or gray or off-white. So I'm really excited about this. And the fabric feels really nice. Here I did a tubular bind off. I just want to say, like, once and for all, I'm done with doing Italian bind off. I don't like doing the 2 rows of slipped stitches before doing a tubular bind off. To me, it doesn't look good. I think I just don't do it right. So I ignored the 2 slipped rows before I did the tubular bind off on the neck. I just finished the first ball of yarn, so I'm not really attached to anything right now, which is nice. And I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to do the sleeves or work up the body. But I think after the drama of picking up stitches is always so dramatic. I think I just want to knit on the body for a while and stockin it before I have to pick up these sleeve stitches. Thanks for all the encouraging comments. Thanks also to Maya on Instagram, what.maya.made. She has also been a big encouragement with knitting up the Port Sweater. So yeah, I'm really excited about this, and everyone's starting to talk about spring knits, and I'm still over here like knitting on my worsted weight sweaters because it's still been in like the 40s here, and my house is really cold. It's really like drafty, and so even when it's like 50 degrees, it's still a bit brisk in here. And I still have more sweater plans before spring truly comes, so I'll talk about those in a minute. This is one I'm using with yarn that I bought at work, so I'll be working on this. This is one I work on like at knit night and on my lunch breaks, and I'm really excited about it. So thanks again for the encouragement. My next whip, oh, is a pair of socks. I'm so excited. I am knitting my very first cables. Be ready. I am knitting the Cider House socks by Summerly Knits, and here they are. My first little cables. How do I stretch them out to show you? Let me put my phone in here so you can see. Here we go. Is that too stretchy? I just wanted to try and stretch them out a little bit so you can see my work. So yeah, this is my first Summerly Knits pattern. I have loved this pattern ever since I first saw it scrolling on Instagram, but I realized I had this sock set from La Mercerie from the first time I ever went there, which was last summer before they moved to Bainbridge Island. So it was in Poulsbo, Washington, and my sister and I went, and they had this, like, I think it might have been an anniversary sock set from Woolbury Fibre Co. So this main color is called Sandcastle from Woolbury Fibre Co. And the accent color, the yellow, is also from her. I don't have the name of it. It just says Sandcastle Berry sock set. But it's 480 yards. Wow. Oh, so that's it together. So 120 grams together. 480 yards, 80% merino, superwash merino, 20% nylon. And then the white that I'm using is Mana Still Uruguay sock yarn, which is called Alegria. And I think that's a 75% superwash, 25% polyamide blend, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just in the color natural. So that's what I used for the kind of contrast sporty cuff. And then the Sandcastle is for the main body of the sock. I think this is so pretty. These, again, are my very first cables, and I've so far done them all in the proper direction, which is really exciting to me. And I have, after doing one repeat, I have the cable chart memorized, so really fun. Really fun project to work on. I think I have 2 more repeats to do of the leg before I start the heel flap. So I had this sock set, it was the yellow and the pink, and there's just something about them that I didn't really want them side by side. So I think this is a perfect way to use them kind of with the cream, diffusing everything, and having this really lightly variegated tonal as the main color. So I'm like really excited about these socks. Every new pair of socks I make is like my favorite pair. But these ones are definitely like a level up, and I'm so excited to have the final product. The thing about Summerly's pattern is that it's on 2.25 needles, which is the size of needle that I prefer. However, her stitch counts are 60 and the next one is 69. 64 is my perfect size for my own socks on a 2.25 needle, so I decided to make the small size on a 2.5 needle. So I went up 1 needle size and picked the smaller stitch count for the sock, and I think it should fit pretty well. I haven't like put it on my foot, obviously, because 9-inch circulars don't really allow that. I am actually knitting them 2 at a time. I have started the other one. However, my 2.5 millimeter needles, the 9-inch, I only have 1 of the Chaogu, and then I have 1 in the Luca, which is a wooden driftwood needle tip, and it's just not behaving the way that I want it to behave. So I'm gonna wait on this one until I get done with this one. Like, it started, which is nice, but I can't go on with the wooden needles. Like, they're way too, there's too much resistance. So we're just gonna keep plugging away on this one until it's done, and then get the other one going after this guy is available again. So those are the Cider House socks by Summerly Knits that I am making, doing my first cables. And I just love how they look. It's such a cool skill to learn. Like, it's just been really fun to knit these up, and I'm so excited. So that is my second whip. I'm trying to knit kind of a pair of socks from stash every month this year, so those are my March socks. 2 weeks left in the month. Don't know if I'll finish them up. And then I have one more whip, which I alluded to in my last episode, but I had different yarn. My acquisitions, I had a Barocco Vintage, which is a DK weight yarn in a kind of darker purple color, and I actually switched to ultra wool, which was available in this lighter lilac color. So it's 100% superwash merino, and this is actually a worsted weight instead of a DK. But I'm using it to make the anchored jacket, which is a kid's cardigan, and I have the yoke knit up. So this is actually a gift for my 2-year-old niece, and her favorite color right now is purple. Hopefully it still is when I finish the sweater, but here's where I'm at so far. I've never knit a cardigan before, so I've just finished the yoke and have to do the raglan increases, and I really don't understand how sleeves work knitting flat, so hopefully I'll get around to that over the weekend. I'm understandably like panicking about this because knitting for kids, they grow so fast so quickly, and I'm just nervous that this is not going to fit her in the least, but it's fine because it's my first kids knit, so you know, whatever happens, happens. So I'm using a worsted weight yarn as opposed to a DK, and I used the right needle size on the first, on the ribbing, and then I'm moving up to a 4.5 for the stockinette. Somebody else on Ravelry used Barocco Ultra Wool for this pattern, so I'm just kind of following her lead. The measurements for this are way off. My niece is 2, I mean way off from like standard American sizing, I feel. My niece is 2. I mean, she's kind of petite, but she's 2 years old, and her like actual like chest measurements and everything was like the 9 to 12 month size or something, and I was like, I'm not making that. So I had my sister measure a sweater that's a little bit too big for my niece, and I'm like, let me try and match those measurements. So I am making the 1 to 2 year size on a slightly bigger needle, so we'll see. I'm hoping and praying that this will like remotely fit her. If it's a little bit too big, that's fine because she can wear it in the fall, but I just don't want it to be too small. I just don't want it to be too small. And they're coming to visit in April, so I kind of want to have this done-ish and maybe just leave the tails hanging out so that I can edit it if need be. But I finished the yoke, which is nice, and I'm really having fun knitting on this for my niece. I think she's gonna be so cute in it. I have this little stitch marker on because for the first few rows I couldn't tell which was the front and back. But now that we're getting into the stockinette, I don't really need it anymore, but it's a cute little orange tulip and I kind of want to keep it on. That's besides the point. So the colorway of the Barocco Ultra Wool I'm using is 3314, and it's called Lilac. So I have 2 balls of this, and we'll see how much farther I get on this in the next few weeks before they come in April. But those are all of my whips. I feel really good about them, where I'm at with all of them, and I'm kind of knitting so aggressively because my friend Hannah from Pages and Pearls here on YouTube and I kind of have a little plan of knitting on the same project together in April, and so I'm trying to get through everything I want to get through before then. Don't worry, Hannah, I'm not like pressured or anything, but I am really excited about our project, so I'm just trying to like prioritize. But I kind of pulled a page out of Knitting Natty's book this month because in my planner I kind of wrote down like what to work on and when, like, you know, it's not so much like get this done on this day, but like work an hour on the socks this day, an hour on the socks this day, finish sleeve 1 of Lento this day, the next day start Lento sleeve 2, like kind of breaking things down like that, and it's been like working. Like I have 2 sweaters done obviously, and a good amount done on my whips. I've actually been benefiting from that, which is kind of amazing. So after the port sweater's done, I think I kind of mentioned before, I'm trying to do like a work sweater using yarn I buy at the yarn shop that I work at, and then a stash sweater, like kind of having 2 big projects at the same time, but one to keep at work, one to keep at home. And so my port sweater is my latest work sweater. Just finished up my Lento, which was my home sweater. So my next sweater from stash is my Louvre sweater from Petite Knit, which I'm using Surella's DK yarn in newsprint, which is pretty much one of my favorite yarns I've ever owned. which I've waxed poetic about it in previous episodes, so I won't do that today, but it's such a nice beigey base with these like antique swaths of color, grayish blue speckles that look just like the typeface on the New York Times. I love it so much. So this is gonna be my next cast on, which I wasn't really expecting to do it so soon, but everyone's knitting the Louvre right now, and I want one too, so it's going to be beautiful. I'm so excited. So that's going to be my next cast on. I think I have it scheduled for next week to cast it on. But then after that, after my port sweaters, then I'm going to need a new work sweater. So the next work sweater I'm making is a Colorwork sweater, and I'm so excited about it because like I'm really cranking out my knitting goals this year with my cabled socks and this sweater. Anywho, so what I'm going to be knitting is the My Fletching sweater from Jessica McDonald. I'm 99% sure that's her name. And it's a really pretty, simple design with like some lines and leaves around the yoke. And I'm going to be knitting it in Manos del Uruguay Alpaca Heather, which is a sport weight yarn that is 70% covered up by the sticker, which I got this at work and I stickered it, so my fault. I just want to see what kind of wool it is. Oh, it's just plain wool. Okay, 70% wool, 30% alpaca, 300 meters per skein. So this is the color Toast. It's a really nice neutral, and I'm going to be doing this for the body, and then the Colorwork part I'm doing in this really bright zinnia red. And what's really nice about the Alpaca Heathers is that it comes in 100 gram skeins of the neutrals, and then the all the colorways, like brighter colors, contrast colors, come in 50 gram skeins. So I only need one for the sweater, which is nice. I got 4 skeins for the body, and I've been wanting to use this, actually this combo, for a few months now and just didn't really have anything in mind. So when I saw that pattern and it was sport weight, I was like, I think that would be really nice. So that's what I'm gonna make. I had a thought the other day, I don't know if this is a thing or not, but I got worried about this bleeding once I block it. So I don't know why, just something got in my head, and I think somebody blocked something recently. Was it Allison Marie Knits again? Maybe like she did like a red sweater. I wonder if that was that. And I know that this is probably like dyed completely differently, but I low-key am like thinking about soaking the yarn and letting it dry before I start knitting up the sweater. Because like, what if I block these together and the whole sweater turns pink? That would be sad. I don't know if I need to do that. Maybe I'll do a little internet research before. But anyway, so this is gonna be my next work sweater. Colorwork. Crazy, but I think it's only one color. It looks like a fairly simple design, and I just think it would be really cute in this. I kind of want to make it a little bit oversized. Like, I'm envisioning like going out on a foggy morning out to the farm in the fields, like having it be my last like layer before I put on my coat. And that's like far off in the future, where I have a little hobby farm in Connecticut, and like that's my everyday. But I can still have the sweater even if I don't live the lifestyle right now. So that is going to be my next 2 sweater cast-ons. And then my other acquisition is from a really fun event that I got to go to last weekend. Shop La Mercerie is a yarn shop here in the Pacific Northwest. It's on Bainbridge Island, which is just outside of Seattle. And a few months ago I went in there to shop. As I was checking out, like Jess and I were catching up. The owner, were kind of friends, and she's really great. And as I was checking out, we were catching up, and she was like, by the way, like, this is top secret, but save the date for March 4th because Explore Knits is going to be here. And I was like, oh boy. And so Explore Knits came to do a trunk show with an exclusive Seattle collection, which was really cool for us Pacific Northwest folks. It was mostly tonals. There were, I think, 6 of them, and then there was one variegated color called Morning Ritual. And the colors were really nice. There wasn't really anything I like was speaking to me that I needed like a sweater quantity of or anything. So I kind of planned to go like midday because I knew there was going to be a huge line. It was going to be a crazy event. And I did exactly the right thing because the lines in the morning I heard and saw footage was just madness. Some people, the store opened at 10 and some people got there at between like 6 and 7 a.m. to wait in the rain, which I think about all the people visiting Bainbridge Island and being like, what is this huge line for? Like, is there a celebrity in town? And it's like, all of us are like, yes, Allie from Explore It. It's like, if you're not in the yarn community, you're not gonna know. Anyway, but so I went kind of at like 2 p.m. I think, and there was like 3 people in the store, and Allie and Darren were there, and Emily from Gently Chaotic Knits, and then Maya, what Maya made. So everybody I knew was there, which was really fun. And so what I did get from her was the Morning Ritual sock set, which was the only thing that I wanted. And so it was fine because literally everything else was sold out except for she brought a lot of colorways that kind of went with the Seattle collection from past collections to have more variegated options, but I just wanted a sock set and that's what I got. So this is the Morning Ritual sock set with the accent color is Pike Place, which is like my favorite color from the collection, and I would actually make a sweater out of this. And so I'm kind of hoping that she'll bring back the colors for Flock Fibre Festival in August, which is in Seattle, so it would make sense. And it's really pretty, kind of beige with brown, not brown, maybe like tan, hand painted, you know, pretty with some like red speckles in it. So that's the sock set. I got 2 just in case. This one is ugly now because I took it out and wound it back up, so it's not as like perfectly skeined up as this one. But I got 2. Not sure if I was going to want to do a like project with this yarn as opposed to just making socks. I'm leaning towards socks, so I'm not sure if I'll like give this to a friend or do another giveaway or what. I still have to decide, like make a final decision if I want to make like a project out of this or not. So that is a really fun acquisition that I got because it was like a fun event and it was a whole thing and it was just really great. I just realized I also need to announce the giveaway winner for the Bigfoot Yarn Co. giveaway. So let me get my computer. I forgot to like select the winner, so we're literally gonna do this live. Random YouTube comment picker. Filter comments based on specific text, giveaway entry, and I think that's all I need to do. Pick winner, here we go. Okay, gave me the winner. Let me see if she's a real person. Go check out her comment. And oh yeah, there's her comment. Okay, so the winner is going to show you on my enormous computer screen is Sarah Jane Parent. Sarah, thanks so much for entering and for watching, and I can't wait to knit socks together with you. If you could please reach out to me by email. You can email Chelsea, CHELSEA, at truelane.co. I'll put that on the screen as well. And just send me your mailing address and I'll get this to you in the mail. So thanks again for everybody who entered. Everyone was really excited about knitting like matching socks together, so hopefully I'll do another one like that in the future. I think would be really fun. I think this episode's like low-key short and sweet, so I'm really excited about that. Even though I thought it was like 2 weeks since my last one, but I guess it's been almost a month, probably because February was so short. I'm hoping, since I have so many projects lined up, let's try to do this again in 2 weeks and see where we're at. You can follow me on Ravelry. I've been updating a lot of my projects there like day to day, so in between podcasts you can kind of catch up and check my progress of where I'm at with stuff. I'm also on Instagram. I've been really quiet on there lately, just like not in the mood. I mean, low-key for the last 2 years, but in the last few weeks I haven't really been posting much, but hopefully I'll get back to it soon enough. I'm truelane on there, and I think those are all the like plugs I have to make. So you can give this video a thumbs up if you liked watching it. You can subscribe to my channel if you want to catch more videos from me in the future, and we'll plan on seeing you in the next episode, hopefully sometime soon. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next time.